On a Japanese sword, we have the blade, we have the tsuba, which is the part that protects your hand, and then we have the handle. And all of these elements reflect in the new collection. Well, I'm ready. We're going to discover
Andrew?
some new...
Welcome in Myjava.
New novelties, new location.
Yeah.
Marcus, have a swing at that. Michel, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Look, I have had a little bit of a pre-look at what Louis Vuitton are releasing this year.
Yeah.
And it all, the heart of the new collection centers around this logo, which I'm a logo freak. I collect my favorite logos.
Yeah.
This is a really dashing logo.
Yes, this is the logo of Gaston Louis Vuitton. And for this collection, you will see just after, is a tribute to Mr. Gaston Louis Vuitton because he was a collector. Mm-hmm. He loved the Japanese art. And this is inspired by the Gaston Louis Vuitton passion.
Yes. Now, Gaston was the third generation. He was the grandson of Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
And he was known as the real colorful, eccentric, travel-mad family member. And he amassed some beautiful objects that have now found their way into design inspiration for the new collection.
Yeah. He was a huge collector for many domains, but he was fond of the Japanese art. He was a collector of tsuba. The tsuba is the piece of metal in the swords of the samurais.
On a Japanese sword, we have the blade.
Yeah.
We have the tsuba, which is the part that protects your hand from getting sliced by an opponent. And then we have the handle. And all of these elements reflect in the new collection.
And we have three different animals we discovered on the tsuba. This one is the dragon. And for make this watch, of course, we need all the métier, the savoir-faire at la Fabrique du Temps. We ask an expert to make the Damascus.
Yes, Damascus steel, which is alloyed with gold here.
Yes, different golds, damask. It's a technique of Japan, of course. And we need these Fanny Quellos was the expert in damask. Yeah.
But this is actually one single piece of this alloy that has obviously gold and Damascus steel elements, but all of these different techniques that you see on the dial, it is one single piece. It looks like there's mirror polished parts, there's so many different components, and yet it's one piece.
Yes, it's just one piece, one dial, but with so many techniques, not only the Damascus, but the paillon, the champ levé, the different techniques of animal experts. Yes.
Now look, before we move on to the next one, and you can see the Gaston Louis Vuitton logo there, and then the monogrammed enameling at the bottom, but there are some big changes to the Escale. Now the Escale is a watch that I hold quite dear. This is the Escale World Time, had this beautiful hand painting on the dial. I don't know if you remember that one of my all-time favorite Louis Vuitton pieces. But there's some big changes to the Escale case. And what you're seeing here is instead of this flat sapphire, we now have a dome sapphire, and also there's a change to the case here.
Yes, correct. We started with the Escale shape, but we revived the Escale shape with the new horns, handmade, hand-polished, hand satin, and the domed crystal sapphire on the top of the watch.
And we now have a bezel.
Yes, and the bezel is bombed, and on the edges you can see the techniques of the Japanese, the cigar waves. You know?
Oh yes, so this is, and also the movement. This is the new tambour movement, the LFT
023.
023, but instead of that really contemporary sandblasting to the bridges of the movement, we have
yes, of course.
Waves.
Yes, the cigar waves.
Yes.
You can find in the Maison in Asnières, you can find these waves in front of the fireworks in Asnières. Yes, designed of course by Gaston Louis Vuitton.
And the last touch relating to that sword is this.
Yes, the bracelet. Yes, it's a technique, a Japanese techniques, and you can find these techniques on the handle of the swords of the samurais.
Amazing. Now, let's move on to the snake's jungle.
The snake is another theme. This one, the first one is water, earth, and fire. This one is earth with the snake, again with the Gaston Louis Vuitton signature at 12. And here we use jadeite. The first one was cornaline. This one is jadeite in the same shape. And we have another techniques. This techniques is marqueterie, and with different woods.
There are 300 components on the dial that they are comprised of, believe it or not, straw, wood, and parchment.
Parchment, yeah.
So you have these very organic materials that just, and in combination with this panoply of greens, 14 shades of green.
Yes, and with, of course, the enamel chanlevé, these parchment, these techniques of marqueterie. Yes, it's a real pleasure to gather all these techniques in one watch. Yes.
And then this is the only one of the three that has this pattern on the marqueterie continuing onto the bezel.
Yes.
So it creates quite an expansive effect.
Yes, a piece of art.
Now, in case you're wondering, I can't tell you the price, so forget that. I can tell you that there are 20 of each of these editions only.
Yes, and this one is another theme, is the carp koi, the fish. We have the two fishes.
This is my favorite because I think there was discussion about wanting to create real volume in the dial, depth in the dial, and this one achieves that so well because you have a base layer of gold.
Of course, yes.
And then you have these elements of like water lily type elements or pebbles.
There's little pebbles in mother of pearls, and these two carp kois engraved, and we put in the oven to obtain this blue. And after we lacquer, a big job.
Because I think that the koi are white gold and they're heated till they're darkened, and then they're engraved.
Yes, they're engraved, and after we make a lacquer on the top.
And some of the stones are quartz crystal. It's not diamonds. I think that would push the price up. But altogether, you just have this quite visually rich and deep illusion of there being. And the lacquer creates this sense of wetness as well. I sound like Zoolander. Moisture is the essence. There is a really deep lacquer to the koi, which creates the look that they're wet.
Yes. I think it's a nice tribute to Gaston Louis Vuitton.
And again, all of them have the GLV logo, and then the LV logo is in a precious stone in the crown.
Yes, of course. And the LV logo, the GLV logo is in onyx. This one.
Beautiful. So Michel, a collection that was inspired by trunks. And that was one of my favorites for bringing all the LV flags in, the color, the hand painting, all of these trunk elements, has had a real explosion of creativity.
Yes, of course, it's a real explosion, but it's such a pleasure to surround myself of all the métier, the savoir-faire, all the know-how, not only the watchmakers, but the dial makers, the engravers, and others.
And this is what we need to land, Michel, because this was not all done by Louis Vuitton artisans or in-house. This was every single one of those editions was a collaboration with an expert in those fields.
Yes. Not only the experts at La Fabrique du Temps. Of course, we try to gather all these métiers, this savoir-faire, but we need others métiers. Maybe one day we will have it
in-house. And also for Escale fans, it is a new prospect. So if you think you know the Escale with its flat sapphire crystal and its previous movement, you need to come and have a second look. I get tagged in a lot of Escale photos for some reason, but this is a different case profile, a totally different narrative around the Escale. That is the Escale Redefined. Stay tuned for more Louis Vuitton. It is so great to be here.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.